Hi guys, welcome back to BattaBox. My name is Mike. I'm one of the presenters here at BattaBox. So the End Bad Governance protest just ended, and with it ending, there are a lot of considerations and kind of reflections looking back. Did this make sense? Was this worth it? Because about 30 lives were lost, at least based on the current record that we have, and a lot of destruction. People lost their businesses, and the economy was put to a standstill for a period of 10 days for the most part. So the question is, was this really worth it? Like, did this make sense? So again, I want to be very, very objective, as in, I won't just be like as objective as I feel be. No be like say I did take one side or another side. Now, a very, very good friend of mine is Omoyele Sowore, who was graceful enough to give us some of his time. So I have an interview with him. I'm going to put a link to that interview here up. Again, Omoyele is someone that I really respect a lot. He's been through a lot, and he's actually suffered for this cause. He's been imprisoned. He's gone to jail several times. He's been beaten up, and he's had his bank accounts frozen. I mean, talk about someone who's like a true hero and a true cause for the Nigerian youth. It's this guy. So, and that's what I love about Moele. So I had him on, and I was trying to push and say, does this even make sense? Now, I'm for the protest. I agree with the protest. I'm all about it, honestly, and I want you to hold me accountable. So I'm going to start by saying that the 10 point agenda, which I think later became 15, don't quote me on that, is something that I've looked at over and over and over. And this is what they demanded from the government, right? And the question has been that the government did not respond to not even one of them. So the question is there one of them that the government can even respond to? Now, for those of you that we don't know this when are they protest for, this is a video for you. Those of you that don't know what they are protesting for, this is a video for you. And as many of you that are concerned or you are not sure, this video will shed light into what the cause of the agitation was. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to put that up on the screen. There are 10 points that I have, and I'll talk through them one by one. They can just check me, like, it makes sense, or am I crazy, or am I being government-sided? Because I don't really be a pro-government guy. I'm more of pro, again, the friend of mine who I respect and adore so much. And also, generally, for the protest, because I think, things are bad, people are hungry, and it doesn't make sense. So I'm going to be as objective as possible. Let me just go straight into it. Number one on the list, revert petrol pump price to 100 naira per liter. Now, Nigeria is part of OPEC. What that means is that we can't really fix our price because OPEC sets price. Again, I'm not an expert on this. This is just the thing why they read for news. OPEC set prices for petroleum for all the exporting countries, which is part of OPEC. With that said, 100 naira per liter. Even the last time was like 165 per liter during Buhari for a very long time. So I think then it became 350 or so, something like that. But I don't think 100 naira per liter is reasonable because there are a lot of things that are involved in terms of the upstream flow and the unions, and then how much production are we getting. There are a lot of companies in place. It's not as if that the government has oil in the backyard. We have it in the country, but there are different parts where it has to be shipped from. There are a lot of transporters involved. There's logistics. It's just a very, very complicated thing for them to just, and I push Omoyele on this, and I think on the interview, which you have to watch, I'm going to link it up here. He called me an NTA agent. He said I did work for NTA. But obviously I did work for NTA because, and if you're watching this, Omoyele, like, it's just 100 per liter is not reasonable. Like, it's not reasonable. It was even 165. Now, what they will have done is to say, hey, okay, can we remove the fuel subsidy? At least I'll take it back to what the price was. 100 naira per liter is like not even like reasonable. Now, the government, they told me that, like Omoyele was saying, the government can just use a biro and just change it. And yes, they can, but at least they can revert the subsidy, I believe. But I don't think they can go back to 100 naira per liter. And I know for the remainder of the point, I think they are trying to push the government. Nigeria, if they negotiate, you try to negotiate and you push it so that you can land in the middle. If you want 5 naira, go start from 5 naira. You go send at 10 naira you want or 20 naira. So that eventually I go land for 5 naira. I think they might be part of what's going on, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Number 2 on the list. Combat insecurity and hunger. Close all IDP camps and resettle the campers. That's something that can be done. The second part of that being close all IDP camps and resettle the campus, that can be done, like easy. But the first part of that, combating insecurity and hunger, insecurity and hunger is not something that can be combated overnight. It's something that will take time, like a lot of time. So if we plan on protesting, we'll protesting for a very long time. It's something that since the days of Yaradua, late Yaradua, then Jonathan struggled with it as well. Then also Buhari struggled with it throughout his own tenure. So it's not something that can be overcome like in a month or 2 months, especially insecurity. It's very, very difficult. The Nigerian army is very, very limited. The Nigerian police force is very limited as well. I think I did a video earlier about the police, and it's on the channel. You can look for that, how undersized the police is. And I did mention in some of the videos I did that when the people actually come out in masses, like they did in the north, if they did that in the southwest, for example, like the police can't, like how many people they won't kill, how many people soldiers will kill, they can't because they are not enough. So insecurity is something that they have to staff, in my opinion. They need to hire more of the Nigerians, like on the streets. Most of us that are still there, the unemployed, more people need to join the police force to be able to tackle the insecurity. There's also a concept of a state police, where, you know, right now you have the Nigerian police force. You don't have Lagos State Police Force. You don't have Anambra State Police Force. You don't have Ogun State Police Force. So it's very, very difficult. Hunger can also be tackled, but what are the metrics? What are the measures? What are you looking at? Like a specific number, like a SMART goal, specific, measurable, achievable, relatable, and time bound. I know, again, I'm going to technical on this, but I think that might be hard to fix. And Tinubu can just come and say, oh, yeah, let's talk. But I don't think he can say, I'll fix insecurity tomorrow. Like, it's not that easy. So let me move on real quick. Number 3 on the list, total electoral reform and INEC probe into the electoral budget of 355. That's one thing I think the government can do. That's something that I think Tinubu can actually address. You know, so I think let's set that aside. That's one thing that can be done. And I don't know why he doesn't want to do that. Some people are saying because he wants to reach 2027. That's why it's trying to not touch that. So because INEC that rigged for him, he knows the INEC. So the INEC can rig for him again. But again, this is like one thing on the list that I know they can do easily, that I would agree with objectively. Number 4, moving on, immediate release of all EndSARS protesters still in detention. Yes, EndSARS was very sad, sorrowful. A lot of people were killed and many more were detained. So those can be released. So that's 2 things that I think that can be done. So out of the 4 things I've listed now, 2 of them the government can easily do. And number 5, implement implementation of living wage of minimum of 300k. Okay, so the Nigerian government hires just about 3 to 5% of the population. Let's be clear about that. The government does not hire many people. It's the rich, the connected, those that know what to. So not a lot of Nigerians are actually employed by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So when you make a minimum wage of 300k, are you talking about the national minimum wage? Or are you talking about the government minimum wage for government employees? Then you also have state workers. The minimum wage does apply to state workers as well, because some states are broke. Some states don't have any resources. They depend on the federal allocation. So it's very, very complicated. It's not something that can be done easily. How about the private sector? Are you saying the private sector should also have minimum wage of 300k? If I'm a guy and I'm selling pure water and I'm making and selling pure water, am I going to be paying my workers 300k? Very, very dicey, very, very complicated. So not something you can just pin easily. On the flip side, if the minimum wage goes up to 300k, mind you, what that means is that a lot of people who are employers will not be able to pay that money. So at the end, what they'll do is the cost of goods will go up. So it will end up causing inflation. So it's just a cycle. You pay people more, then once you pay them more, that means the makers of those goods and services have to increase the price, which will increase the inflation, which means those buying those things will have to pay more. So maybe not a particularly easy one to achieve, I would say. Moving on. Compulsory free education from primary education to secondary school. Education grants at tertiary level. That's something that is doable, but the country needs to have money for that. Nigeria is broke. It's a different program, which in other parts of the world, a presidency or the executive can do that over the time of 4 years when they have a surplus. Nigeria is broke. How are they going to pay for like primary and secondary school free? If it's free, that means that the teacher's salary are paid for free. Then there's no income coming. Nigeria can do it. I know, as my friend will say, Nigeria can do it and Nigeria have the resources. But is there the will of those in government to do that? This is something that someone has to prioritize and say, this is what I want to do. It's like a national goal whereby I will say, okay, oh, when I'm coming in, he will have campaigned for that, and he will make sure that he does that, and the Senate and the House of Assembly have to support him. So I don't know if that's achievable or not. Moving on. Children of all public office holders must attend public schools in the country. I think what they are trying to do is to make sure that those who are in office, that their kids go to Nigerian schools so they can suffer. But again, if someone who's sick, for example, and is holding public office, and he has a sister who lives in Canada, are you saying that person should go to General Hospital Ikeja and not go to Canada because they are public? Like, same way, if I have a sister who is in, I don't know, say Germany, and they have good education in Germany, instead wants to help me to train my child in Germany, you're not going to tell me that I have to go to school at Igbobi College, for example. Government must patronize made in Nigerian goods only. So that one is a big one, because I don't think that we make anything. If we don't make anything, then the question is, how many percentage of things do we make? For example, furniture. We make furniture in Nigeria, yeah. But to the budget, ratio of the federal budget or state budget or whatever, how much is the furniture percentage-wise? Is it like 5% or 3% or 10%? I know I'm getting into the weeds here, and you might be like, waiting this guy to talk. But still, if you want them to buy computers in Nigeria, Nigeria has been making computers. If you want them to buy air condition or AC, whatever it is, so I don't think we make enough goods to justify this. And even if it were so, like, how do you hold them accountable? A little bit dicey. Transition to unicameral legislation. That means get rid of either House or Senate and just have one house. I don't think that's going to happen. That will need a constitutional change. You have to change the constitution to be able to do that. Not going to happen in 10-day strike, or not going to happen like without a monumental will for the people in Senate that are chopping and stealing money to say we don't want to exist anymore, or for the people in House. And again, constitutional change is required. So basically, that means let's merge the House and Senate, so we just have one parliament, and that might be something that's very difficult to achieve because constitution doesn't let it. Judicial and constitutional reforms. What does that mean? So again, I'm not shading the protest. I'm all about the protest. I support it. I myself have been in many protests. I think it's a good thing. But a lot of media and a lot of things I've seen are people saying the government did not address one. The government did not address one of them. Even I was thinking like that earlier, this government bad. They didn't even address one thing. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, hold on. Which one they even feel address? Let's say they want to address one. The NSAS one, that's an easy one. I know they can do that. That's probably one of the main things that can be done on the list. One of the electoral reform and the province with 305 million naira. So those are the two things I think out of the 10, those are the two the government can actually do today and do now and do based on the protests. But the government didn't address that either. So the NSAS movement, I don't know why it wasn't addressed. Tinubu could have done that. Then also the INEC reform too. That can also be done. But the INEC reform, I think, might have to do with the House of Assembly and the Senate. Those are the ones that have to probe it. And not necessarily Tinubu. So that one Tinubu can't really do. Then also the INEC, the NSAS, that's with the judicial. So in a way, I'm not making an excuse for Tinubu. Don't get me wrong. I know one making a come, they blast me, say this guy is not pro. No, I'm not pro-government. I'm just saying let's be objective and say if you are going to protest and cause people to lose lives, if you are going to destroy businesses and cost a lot of Nigerians money and damage public property, the roads and street lights and just a lot of mayhem and destruction, what exactly is a tangible thing that you can say, okay, this is what we have to present? And it doesn't matter anyway, I mean, because these governments, they are stubborn, they no go listen, and they are corrupt and they are chopping money anyway. So even if we had the tangible results, even if we had the tangible list rather, I still think that the government will still not listen anyway. But at least for some people on the side, because I have some friends who are on the sideline, they're like, this protest, it didn't even make sense, no make sense. May I check them out? So because of them, I'm looking, let me even look at it. And honestly, guys, like, I'm kind of like, I'm not pro-government, but I think the government is corrupt. I think the executive branch is oversized. On the list, I think they could have added, let's shrink the size of government. I think that was added in a later part, not the list I have here, which I'll try and look for that and do an updated video for that as well. But point is, of these 10 items here presented in the first draft before the protest started, or what they put out in the first announcement, of the 10 drafts, I'm sorry to say probably like only one of them, and that is the INEC probe, because it's part of the executive. The NSAS release, that's judicial. It's not even the executive branch that will do that. And it's not legislative, so that's judicial. But you can push Tinubu anyway to help to make sure it happens. So yeah, maybe that can be done by the executive as well. So that's it, guys. The protest is over. Thank God that, you know, it wasn't really as bad as some people were saying it would be. I'll do that video to kind of talk about other items in there and some things that I think will have been improved, like the Northerners protesting and not the Southerners and stuff like that. And the Igbos sitting out as well. Some things we can talk about. But for now, I just wanted to update you guys on the protest and also my thoughts looking back. Did we achieve what we were meant to? Perhaps, because I know some people have started taking action. They are listening. They are paying attention. Government is trying to make some changes. Even though I still believe going off these 10 points that they put together, probably one or two is what will probably could be achieved in the nearest future. Thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and leave a comment, and I'll be responding to those. Thank you, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye now.
Bata bata, bata bata, bata box.